Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Star Wars Battlefront 2 system requirements. Now, I'm doing this video right now because I can go over the system requirements, of course, but I also want to give a little input on everything that's been going on with the game. There's been a ton of controversy surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2, namely the microtransactions and how everything crazy is. Originally, there were reports out that it would take like 40 hours to unlock some of the heroes in the game, like Luke Skywalker, or you could drop real money and get early access to these hero characters in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and this is obviously crazy. We've seen microtransactions before, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 was really seemingly taking it to the next level, and this has just been the talk of the town in the gaming world, and a lot of gamers were pissed off, to the point where some of the DICE guys got death threats sent to them. I get that gamers are a passionate group of people, but come on guys, death threats, that's a little bit extreme. If you really don't like the game, just don't buy it. But yeah, I also very much support everybody voicing their opinions on how horrible it is, but we don't need to be threatening death among the developers, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of the developers don't even have anything to do with how the pricing structure works. That really comes from the publishers, and publishers setting that requirement from the game. So a lot of that vitriol has been misdirected, but nonetheless, the message got out, and EA has reduced the cost of all of the Battlefront heroes by 75%. I think that's just absolutely crazy, but obviously that was the right move. It's just sad that we've gone to this point, and this definitely won't be the last time something like this happens. Even with their newest title, Need for Speed, that game from all accounts is pretty terrible, but obviously they had to shoehorn in a bunch of microtransactions into that game as well. Just a bummer how everything's going on, but at least for now, Battlefront 2, they have dialed it down. In my opinion, it's still a bit too much, but this is a game that a lot of gamers are excited for, so I did want to go over the system requirements. The game is playable right now on Origin Access, so if you want to play the game for yourself, you can do that. Otherwise, if you're waiting for the full release, that'll be releasing on November 17th. And I do want to go over the system requirements a little bit late on my part, but better late than never, I guess, so let's get right into this. With minimum CPU requirement on the AMD side, you're looking at an AMD FX 6350, a very old processor. That was like a $100 CPU that I was recommending years ago. Good to see that that is still being listed at minimum, and here's what they do that I don't like. On the minimum CPU side, on the Intel side, it's the Intel Core i5 6600K. Now, if you guys know anything about CPUs, you know that an i5 6600K is far superior than the FX 6350. The only similarity is that they do have multiple cores, I guess. That really never makes any sense to me, but there you go. On the recommended side, AMD, you're looking at an AMD FX 8350 Wraith, or on the Intel side, an Intel Core i7 6700. Now, I think you'll be fine with an i5 that's overclocked. This game isn't that incredibly difficult to run, so yeah, an overclocked i5 should do you just fine. For RAM requirement, this is pretty standard these days. Minimum is 8GB, recommended is 16GB of RAM. I've been saying it a lot in my recent videos that if you're building a new PC, 16GB of RAM is really the way to go, especially with a lot of the upcoming games. You look at titles like Battlefront 2, Final Fantasy 15, they are all going to start recommending at least 12GB of RAM, and more often than not, you're going to be seeing 16GB of RAM as recommended. Moving on to what you guys care about, the GPU requirement, which is relatively interesting. On the minimum AMD side, you're looking on an AMD Radeon HD 7850, that's a 2GB GPU, and on the NVIDIA side, an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 660. Now, my memory is kind of shoddy, but I believe those GPUs were relatively comparable at the time of release. I think those GPUs were relatively comparable at the time of release. I believe the 660, the standard 660, the non-TI version was around the 7850's performance. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And on the recommended side, you are looking at an AMD Radeon RX 480 4GB or an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 3GB. So again, nothing too crazy for the GPU requirement. If you guys have something like a 1070, that should demolish this game, no problem. And finally, I do want to go over the hard drive requirement, which they are listing at 60GB. Usually whatever they listed at, it's a little bit lower than that. I don't have the exact system storage in front of me, but yeah, game file sizes have been increasing rapidly, and 60GB is about the average for a lot of games these days, so that's nothing too surprising. If you're building a new PC, definitely consider getting a hard drive that's bigger than 1TB, because 1TB is very limiting these days, especially considering how big these games are getting. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. A quick little video. Wanted to talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2 because it's been a big topic among gamers. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you picking up Battlefront 2? Has EA just completely soured you? Did you play the first game? I know the first game disappointed a lot of us, me included. I was not a big fan of the first game at all, but now with the sequel, we do have a single player campaign, and the multiplayer looks like it has a lot of depth to it, but all the controversy surrounding the game, the fact that the microtransactions were ever on the table, I see a lot of gamers just not wanting to support this game at all. Let me know where you stand on it. As always, if you have a request for a future video, you can put that in the comment section down down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.